The goalpost dunk, the celebration that broke the game. For years, the goalpost dunk was one of the most exciting and physically impressive touchdown celebrations in the NFL. Popularized by legendary tight ends like Tony Gonzalez, it was a raw display of power and athleticism, as a player would leap and slam the football over the crossbar like a basketball. However, the celebration met its end in 2014, not because of sportsmanship concerns, but because of its literal, game-breaking consequences. The final straw came during a preseason game when Jimmy Graham, then with the New Orleans Saints, dunked with such force that he bent the goalpost, causing a significant delay to the game as stadium crews scrambled to level it. The NFL, an organization obsessed with game flow and scheduling, saw this as an unacceptable disruption. The league swiftly banned the celebration, classifying it as using the goalpost as a prop, which falls under the umbrella of unsportsmanlike conduct. The rule change effectively killed a fan-favorite celebration, turning what was once a symbol of dominance into a costly penalty. Travis Kelce, a known admirer of Tony Gonzalez, defied the ban in 2020 to pay homage to the legend and was promptly handed a $12,500 fine for his nostalgic gesture. The death of the goalpost dunk serves as a perfect example of the NFL's priorities. The integrity of the equipment and the rigid television schedule will always take precedence over a player's spontaneous expression of joy. The throat-slash gesture, the taunt deemed too violent. In 1999, the NFL took a firm stance against a gesture that it deemed too violent and threatening for its on-field product, the throat slash. This taunt, a simple motion of dragging a thumb across one's neck, had become a popular way for players to signify that a game was over or that they had just killed the competition. Players like Brett Favre and Keyshawn Johnson were known to use it to intimidate opponents and energize their teammates. The league, however, saw it as a direct violation of its sportsmanship rules, viewing the gesture as a pantomime of a violent act that had no place in the game. The ban was part of a broader effort by the NFL in the late 90s and early 2000s to clean up its image and crack down on what it perceived as excessive taunting. The irony of the ban was not lost on fans and critics, who pointed out that the league itself was profiting from the very imagery it was prohibiting. The video game NFL Fever 2000, which was officially licensed by the league, prominently featured the throat-slash gesture in its promotional materials and gameplay. This hypocrisy highlighted the often conflicting nature of the NFL's relationship with on-field aggression. It sells the violence of the sport while simultaneously penalizing the symbolic representations of that violence. The ban remains in effect today, and the throat-slash gesture has been relegated to the annals of NFL history as a celebration that was deemed too intense for the no-fun league. Stickum and other foreign substances, the ban on cheating grip. The NFL's ban on stickum and other adhesive or slippery substances is a direct response to a period in the 1970s and early 1980s when the integrity of the passing game was being compromised. Stickum, a glue-like substance, was famously used by defensive backs like Lester Hayes of the Oakland Raiders, who would slather his hands and forearms in the adhesive to gain a significant advantage in intercepting passes. Receivers also used it to make incredible one-handed catches, fundamentally altering the balance between offense and defense. The league recognized that these substances were not just enhancing a player's natural ability, but were creating an unfair and artificial advantage. In 1981, the NFL implemented what is now known as the Lester Hayes Rule, officially banning all foreign substances from being applied to the body, uniform, or equipment. This rule extends beyond just adhesives. It also prohibits players from using slippery substances to make themselves harder to tackle. The ban was a crucial step in preserving the integrity of the game, ensuring that a player's ability to catch or defend against a catch was a result of skill and athleticism, not chemical assistance. The legacy of this ban can still be seen today, as the league continues to be vigilant about any foreign substances on the field, understanding that the line between a competitive edge and outright cheating is one that must be strictly enforced. The custom face mask, the end of on-field intimidation. For a brief period, the NFL saw a rise in highly customized, intimidating face masks. Players like the Indianapolis Colts' Robert Mathis and the New York Giants' Justin Tuck sported elaborate, multi-barred grills that gave them a menacing, almost gladiatorial appearance. These face masks, while visually striking, raise significant safety and uniformity concerns for the league. The NFL's uniform policy is notoriously strict, designed to create a standardized look across the league and ensure that all equipment meets rigorous safety standards. The custom face masks fell into a gray area, often uncertified by the National Operating Committee on Standards for Athletic Equipment, NOCSAE. The league argued that these non-standard masks could potentially be more dangerous, either by increasing the risk of a finger getting caught or by altering the structural integrity of the helmet. Furthermore, the NFL has always been wary of excessive individuality, preferring a team-first, uniform look. The intimidating designs were seen as a form of self-expression that bordered on taunting. In 2013, the league officially cracked down, banning all non-standard and unapproved face masks. Players were required to revert to more traditional designs, and the era of the custom grill came to an abrupt end. The ban was a clear message from the league office. Player safety and league-wide uniformity would not be compromised for the sake of individual expression or intimidation. Tinted visors, the ban on concealing a player's eyes. The tinted visor, a staple of football culture in the 1990s and 2000s, was banned by the NFL for a critical reason that has nothing to do with style: player safety. While players often wore dark visors for intimidation or to look cool, the league's medical staff argued that they posed a significant risk in the event of a head or neck injury. A tinted visor prevents medical personnel from quickly and easily seeing a player's eyes, which is a crucial step in assessing a potential concussion or other serious head trauma. The ability to check for pupil dilation and responsiveness is a key part of the on-field neurological exam. A dark visor creates a barrier that can delay this critical evaluation. As the NFL became more focused on the issue of concussions, the ban on tinted visors became a necessary and logical step. The league now has a strict policy that only allows players with a documented medical need, such as sensitivity to light due to migraines, to wear a tinted visor. These players must apply for a medical exemption and receive league approval. This rule change represents a fundamental shift in the NFL's priorities, moving away from allowing intimidating aesthetics and toward a policy that puts the immediate medical care of its players above all else. The clear visor is now the standard, a symbol of the league's commitment to a safer game. Coordinated team celebrations, the crackdown on choreography. The NFL's ban on coordinated team celebrations is one of the most controversial and frequently criticized examples of its no-fun league reputation. In the early 2000s, teams like the New Orleans Saints, with players like Joe Horn, and the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Chad Johnson, became famous for their elaborate choreographed touchdown celebrations. These routines, which often involved multiple players and props, were wildly popular with fans, but were viewed by the league office as excessive and unsportsmanlike. The NFL argued that these celebrations were a form of taunting and that they delayed the game. In 2006, the league implemented a strict ban on any celebration that was pre-planned, choreographed, or involved more than one player. This rule was met with immediate backlash from players and fans who saw it as an unnecessary restriction on player expression. The league's position was that it wanted to maintain a certain level of professionalism and that the focus should be on the game itself, not on post-play antics. The ban led to a period where players had to be creative with their individual celebrations, careful not to cross the line into what the league considered a group activity. While the NFL has since relaxed some of its celebration rules, the ban on coordinated, multiplayer routines remains largely in effect, a lasting legacy of the league's long-standing effort to control and sanitize the emotional outbursts that make the game so compelling. The horse collar tackle, the ban that protected quarterbacks. The horse collar tackle, a technique where a defender grabs the inside of a player's shoulder pads or jersey from behind and pulls them down, was banned by the NFL in 2005 after a series of devastating injuries to star players. The tackle was particularly dangerous because it created a tremendous amount of force on the ball carrier's legs, often causing them to buckle at awkward angles, leading to serious ankle and knee injuries. The tipping point for the league came in the 2004 season, when several high-profile players, including Philadelphia Eagles star receiver Terrell Owens, were injured by this type of tackle. The NFL Players Association lobbied heavily for a rule change, arguing that the horse collar tackle was a dangerous and unnecessary technique that put players at an unacceptable risk of injury. The league agreed, and the Roy Williams rule, named after the Dallas Cowboys safety who was known for using the tackle, was implemented. The ban made it illegal for a defender to grab the inside of a player's pads from behind and pull them down. The rule has since been expanded to include the nameplate area of the jersey. The ban on the horse collar tackle was a significant step forward in player safety, particularly for quarterbacks and other skill position players who are often tackled from behind in the open field. It represents a clear instance where the league identified a specific, dangerous technique and acted decisively to remove it from the game. 8. Smelling salts. The end of a pre-game ritual. For decades, the sharp, pungent scent of smelling salts has been a ubiquitous part of the NFL sideline. Players would snap an ampule of ammonia carbonate under their nose for a quick jolt of adrenaline, a way to heighten their senses and prepare for the violent collisions of the game. However, in 2025, the NFL officially banned teams from providing smelling salts to players, citing growing safety concerns. While the substance is not illegal and players can still technically bring their own, the league's decision to no longer distribute it marks a significant cultural shift. The primary concern is that the powerful rush provided by smelling salts can mask the symptoms of a concussion. A player who has just suffered a head injury might use smelling salts to feel more alert, potentially hiding dizziness, confusion, or other signs of a concussion from medical staff. This could lead to a player returning to the game while injured, putting them at risk for a much more severe secondary brain injury. The NFL's move is part of its ongoing effort to improve its concussion protocol and create a safer environment for players. By removing smelling salts from the sideline, the league is sending a clear message that any substance that could potentially interfere with the accurate diagnosis of a head injury has no place in the modern game. It's a move away from old-school traditions and toward a more cautious, medically driven approach to player health. 9. The tearaway jersey, the ban on escape artistry. In the 1970s and early 1980s, the tearaway jersey was a popular piece of equipment for running backs and other skill position players. These jerseys were designed to rip apart when grabbed by a defender, allowing the ball carrier to break free from tackles. Houston Oilers running back Earl Campbell was one of the most famous proponents of the tearaway jersey, often finishing runs with his jersey in tatters, having shed multiple would-be tacklers. While exciting for fans, the tearaway jersey was seen by the league as a piece of equipment that provided an unfair advantage. It was, in essence, a way to cheat the fundamental act of tackling. The NFL's Rules Committee viewed it as a violation of the spirit of the game, arguing that a tackle should be determined by the strength and skill of the players, not by the structural integrity of their uniforms. In 1979, the league officially banned the tearaway jersey. The rule stipulated that jerseys must be of a material and design that does not aid the ball carrier in eluding tacklers. This ban was a move to standardize equipment and ensure a level playing field. It reinforced the principle that the game should be a contest of athletic ability and that equipment should not be a variable that can be manipulated for a competitive edge. The era of the tearaway jersey was a brief but memorable chapter in NFL history, a time when a player could literally leave a defender holding the bag. Bandanas and skull caps, the uniformity police. The NFL's ban on bandanas and other non-approved headwear is a prime example of the league's obsession with a standardized and uniform appearance. For years, players would wear bandanas, often with personal messages or logos, hanging out from under their helmets. It was a form of individual expression, a way for players to add a personal touch to their on-field look. However, the NFL, under its strict uniform policy, viewed this as a violation. The league has a comprehensive set of rules that dictate every aspect of a player's on-field attire, from the height of their socks to the brand of their cleats. The ban on bandanas, often referred to as the skullcap rule, was implemented to eliminate what the league saw as a sloppy and unprofessional look. The official reasoning was that it was a matter of uniformity and that all players should adhere to the same dress code. Critics, however, saw it as another example of the no fun league cracking down on individuality. The ban also had a commercial component, as it prevented players from displaying logos of brands that were not official NFL sponsors. The rule remains in effect today, and players are regularly fined for any deviation from the league's strict uniform code. It's a reminder that in the NFL, the team and the league brand will always come before a player's personal style. 11. The Lambeau Leap, the iconic celebration where a Green Bay Packers player jumps into the stands after scoring a touchdown, is one of the most beloved traditions in the NFL. However, the league has effectively banned this celebration from taking place in any stadium other than Lambeau Field. The rule that prevents the Lambeau Leap from going on the road is the one that prohibits excessive celebrations with the crowd. The league views jumping into the stands in an opposing team's stadium as a potential safety risk and a form of taunting. The concern is that it could incite the home crowd and lead to altercations between players and fans. The Lambeau Leap is grandfathered in as a unique, team-specific tradition that is acceptable in its home environment. But if a player from another team were to attempt a similar celebration in a visiting stadium, they would be flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct. This rule highlights the NFL's delicate balancing act when it comes to celebrations. It allows for certain traditions to exist in their specific context, but is quick to shut down any celebration that it deems to be a potential security risk or an act of disrespect to the home team. The Lambeau Leap remains a cherished part of the Green Bay Packers' identity, but it is a celebration that is, by rule, confined to the friendly confines of its historic home. 12. The one-bar face mask, a relic banned for safety. The one-bar face mask is one of the most iconic and nostalgic pieces of equipment in the history of football. Worn by legendary quarterbacks like Joe Namath and Johnny Unitas, it was a symbol of a different era, a time of leather helmets and a more rugged, less protected style of play. However, the one-bar face mask was officially banned by the NFL in 2004, with a grandfather clause that allowed the few remaining players who wore it to continue doing so until they retired. The last player to wear a one-bar face mask was kicker Scott Player, who retired in 2007. The reason for the ban was simple and non-negotiable: player safety. As the game became faster and more violent, and as our understanding of head injuries grew, it became clear that the one-bar face mask offered virtually no protection for the face and jaw. The risk of a direct blow to the face, a hand getting through the bar, or a helmet-to-helmet collision causing a serious facial injury was simply too high. The league mandated the use of multi-barred face masks that provide significantly more protection. The banning of the one-bar face mask was a crucial step in the evolution of helmet technology and a clear indication of the league's growing commitment to player safety. It marked the end of an era, consigning a classic piece of football iconography to the history books in the name of protecting the players.